The Buffalo Bills are back at Highmark Stadium on Sunday to take on the New England Patriots. We got a full game preview, keys to a Bills victory, bowl predictions, and plenty more coming up today on Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching, for listening, for following, for subscribing. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Today's episode is presented by Sunny Reds, 1841 Abbott Road in Lackawanna, just minutes away down the road from Highmark Stadium. Some of the best wings, brick oven pizza, burgers, fish fry, you name it. They got it, and it is delicious. A great place to eat, a great place to hang out, great vibes, cool place to watch a game, meet up with your friends. Sunny Reds, if you have not been there yet, make sure you stop by. They're a big supporter of this show, and I appreciate them very much as well. All right, so we're going to get into, this is our Friday episode. Like I said, the Bills with on paper anyway, a much easier go at it this coming Sunday against the New England Patriots. We'll break down that game. I'll spend some time talking about the Patriots, go over three keys to a Bills win today like we always do, three bowl predictions, and I'll have a final score guess as well. Real quick, before we get into that, I do want to say, as somebody who has lived almost my entire life in Buffalo, minus a 5-year stretch where I was in Florida, 2016 to 2021, I have been a lifelong Buffalonian. I grew up here. I've always been a fan of the media, and I'm not just talking sports media, also news and broadcast media as well. I want to take this opportunity to wish a happy retirement to Don Postles, who is putting the cap on an incredible 52-year career in broadcasting, including 46 of it in Buffalo, New York. Don Postles, one of the greats here in Buffalo all time on the news broadcast side. Came to Buffalo all the way back in 1976. Spent 11 years at Channel 7. Quick little side note, too. It's kind of giving my age a little bit away here. I really don't give a shit at this point, but going all the way back to 1979, I was a very young kid. Don Postal started anchoring the Channel 7 newscast with Irv Weinstein. Of course, Irv, one of the all-time GOATs here in Buffalo broadcasting. I actually remember that. Like, one of my very first memories of TV news was Irv, who was kind of like a household name around Buffalo, and a young upstart Don Postal. That was going all the way back to 1979. He had been there for a couple of years before that. So Don spent 11 years at Channel 7. At some point, he spent 3 years at Channel 2 after that. And then he has spent nearly the last 32 years at Channel 4 serving as an anchor. So he has been at every single network TV throughout what I consider, and I'm sure a lot of you do as well, an illustrious career. And it's really wild to see somebody spend, pretty much most of their life here working in the Buffalo market, 46 years to be exact in his case, in an era where people just bounce around now in news media, and we see it all the time here in the Buffalo market. People come, people go, whether it's the news side, whether it's the sports side, the weather side. Buffalo seems to be, for a lot of the younger folk anyway, a stop along the way. So they don't make them like they used to anymore. People like Don Postles and Jackie Walker, who just recently stepped down from Channel 2 as well. But anyway, a very happy retirement, and congratulations to Don Postal on an incredible Buffalo broadcasting career. Quickly, too, the Sabres were back at practice on Thursday. If you didn't catch it, I did an entire podcast on Thursday dedicated to my loathing and disdain for this organization. PK from the Buffalo Sports Collective joined me. Was not a lot of fun to do. I mean, as much as the Sabres suck right now, and, it feels good and therapeutic sometimes to just get it off your chest, it's not the fun kind of episode to do. I don't think it was received very well by fans either. Sabres fans, Sabres haters. If you're a Sabres hater, you don't even want to hear about them, and you just want Bills talk. I get it. I do. I understand. If you're a big Sabres fan still and you really support the team, you don't want to hear an hour full of negativity. I understand that as well. This team's just, they're not any good right now. It is what it is. One thing that caught my attention anyway, and this is kind of what we were talking about on the show yesterday at practice. John Worrell in the locker room, John Worrell, Associated Press reporter, asked Dylan Cousins about, you know, change being, success, I should say, being able to turn things around, it being in that room. And Dylan Cousins, and I'm quoting what he told John and other reporters. He said, I believe in this group. I think we all believe in this group. We just have to be better. We have the team to win and the players to do it. But we've been saying that for a while now. It's about time we fucking do it. That's his exact quote from Dylan Cousins. I know a lot of people are like, he said, he scored, I got all fired up. I'm tired of that's what I'm talking about. It's what I talked about on the show yesterday. I am tired of hearing the talk. I am tired of hearing the bullshit, the excuses, the big words, the big speeches. I'm over it, man. This team is pretty good at talking about what they need to do and talking about what they can be. How about you actually go out and start doing it? Because this has just been an absolutely disgraceful campaign. Friday night is going to get ugly at the arena. The Sabres, and I use air quotes here, they host the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, look, even when the Sabres are a great team, there's always a ton of Toronto fans in that crowd. They come up, or they come down, I should say, from Canada. The ticket prices are really good for them. It's a cheaper game to go to than in Toronto. So there's always a bunch of Leafs fans. I understand that. But usually it's like kind of mixed, like almost 50-50. That ain't going to be the case on Friday night. This shit is going to be like a road game for the Sabres in their own arena. Of course, they've lost 11 in a row. Or I should say they're winless in 11 in a row, technically. They go winless 12 in a row at home. And that owner, if he's bothering to even watch the game, or if he's at the arena, God forbid, and he hears that crowd, I wonder if it will have any effect. My money says no. We'll see. But anyway, like I said, just a bunch of bullshit talk. By the way, Jordan Greenway, too. Another hockey thing that really bothers me. He has a mid-body injury, needs surgery, and Lindy Ruff said he's going to miss significant time. Maybe not end of the season stuff, but significant time. God fucking forbid in hockey, you actually just disclose what the injury is. Mid-body injury, it's important enough to require surgery and miss multiple months, but we can't know what that injury is. Just, it's stupid, man. It's just dumb. It really is. Anyway, enough with that shit. I don't want to go on another tangent. This is a much more positive episode because we're talking Bills again today. Again, Bills, New England primer for Sunday. The Bills have obviously been really successful in recent years over New England. They've won 5 of the 6 matchups recently with New England, 7 of 9 in recent years. But, and let's not forget this, kind of keep this a theme for today, that you can't sleep on anybody in the NFL. For all the success that the Bills have had over New England recently, and for being just a flat out much better football team, let's not forget it was just a year ago last season, the Bills went to Foxborough and they lost. They lost 29-25 to Mac Jones and the New England Patriots. The Bills were down like 22-10 in the fourth quarter. A touchdown pass to Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen had a 1-yard touchdown run. And the Bills go up 25-22 with just a minute 58 in the game. But New England gets the ball. A screen pass where I remember it. Jordan Phillips whiffs on a tackle, goes way down the field. They get in scoring range, and then ultimately Mac Jones, it's tight end Mike Gesicki who beat Taron Johnson on the play with just 12 seconds left, and the Patriots left that field winners. Just something to think about here with the Buffalo Bills. That said, it feels odd, generally speaking, to see how much these roles with these teams are reversed after all, the Tom Brady years. The Bills only went 3-17 against New England during the 2010s before Josh Allen, was drafted and took over and eventually became a great quarterback. Just 3-17 for that entire decade. And if you want even more dominance than that, Tom Brady is a member of the New England Patriots lifetime, 32-3 against the Buffalo Bills. if you're a young Bills fan and you're new to this sport and you've only been a Bills fan for, say, like 5, 6, 7 years or so, we'll say like 7 years, like maybe you're in your late teens watching this or early 20s and you got into them, when you're around 12, 13 years old, you don't know that dominance. You just look at the Bills as a team that's just flat out better than New England. But we're talking years, man, years and years. Imagine going just 3-32 against another quarterback. That's literally what the Bills did against Tom Brady. So it's a nice change, obviously, if you're a Bills fan right now, but God, it's impossible to forget if you're old enough to remember that. Which, if you're even older, kind of flipping it back, the Bills were dominant over New England, and the New England Patriots were just god awful during the era where the Bills were going to the Super Bowl every year. I remember that as well. When the Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls, New England was just 1-15 in 1990. They only had one win. That was the first year that the Bills went to the Super Bowl. In 92, which when the third year that the Bills went to the Super Bowl, they were just 2-14. They were 14-40 combined during that 4-year run where the Bills went to the Super Bowls. These have been teams that have been really good or really, really bad as they have intertwined throughout their existence. As for the Bills, a little bit of news to speak of. Casey Toohill, who was waived earlier in the week when Tyler Grable was activated for IR, they had to make a roster spot for him. So they waived Casey Toohill. He cleared waivers, and the Bills on Thursday morning signed them to his practice, or signed him, I should say, to the practice squad. To make room, they cut Eli Anku from the practice squad, which that's not a move I love. It really isn't. But I also understand. I mean, the Bills are just stacked at defensive tackle, at least with names. And it's clear that the organization has decided that having veterans like Jordan Phillips and Quentin Jefferson and Austin Johnson, who's been here all season long, that they wanted to go with those veterans over Anku. I'll tell you what, I think this kid has a future in the NFL. I said it on Twitter Thursday. I think he could make a team. I think if he gets the right opportunity, he could go to a team and not just be a practice squad guy. Like, he's a 53-man active roster level player. So I really hope he gets an opportunity. I thought he played pretty well. The couple call-ups that he had, a little bit surprising that the Bills went out and signed both Phillips and Jefferson after those guys got cut a little bit earlier in the season. But you know what? It is what it is, and hopefully he gets another opportunity. But that's on the news front. As for the team, of course, the Bills right now are 11-3. They've knocked off both the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions on the back half of their schedule. That's a great feat right now. You would have said a couple months ago the Bills would be 11-3. I would have said you're borderline crazy. To go in Detroit and to beat them on the road this past year, or this past week, I should say, is incredible, man. And this is a team right now with 3 games left that has, if you're looking for motivation to keep winning, even if the 1 seed becomes out of play, the Bills, if they can win out these last 3 very winnable games, they will set their franchise record all time for wins in a season with 14. Now, granted, they're playing 17 games now, but still, 14 wins would be an all-time franchise record. They've had 13 wins 4 times, including 2 recently. They did that in 2022, 2 years ago, and then 2 years before that in 2020. And then they also did it back-to-back years in 1990 and 1991. So you got an opportunity there. As far as the 1 seed, I kind of feel like unofficially anyway, we'll know if the 1 seed is like realistically in play for the Bills by the time they take the field Sunday at 1 p.m. to play the Patriots. And that's because the Chiefs host Houston on Saturday afternoon. Of course, as things stand right now, the Chiefs have a 2-game lead on the Bills, but if they finish at a tie, the Bills would get the tiebreaker because they beat them head to head. So long story short, for the Bills to have the top seed, the Chiefs are going to need to lose 2 of their last 3, and the Bills, of course, would have to win out. It's a big game if you're 1 seed hoping for Kansas City. This is well, they're all big, but this is a really big game. If they lose to Houston on Saturday, the Bills all of a sudden are only one game back. But if the Chiefs win, it remains two with just two left. That means they would have to lose their last two, which, I mean, to be fair, potentially anyway, are really tough games. They do play at Pittsburgh, week 17, and at Denver, week 18. The thing that worries me if you're, one seed hunting right now is that week 18 matchup against Denver may not ultimately mean anything to the Broncos. It's possible that the Broncos could already have a playoff spot clinched, and it would just be a matter, and they're not going to win their division. So are they going to be the 6th seed or are they going to be the 7th seed? One or the other is probably not going to make them play their key players in week 18. So if you want that game to mean something for Denver, you probably need to hope, as much as at the end of the day, you hope it doesn't play out that way. But whether it's Miami, whether it's Indy, or whether it's Cincinnati, which I don't want to see in the playoffs, I've made that very, very clear. But you want Denver to have to win that game to make sure they get into the playoffs, have something to play for in week 18. So what Kansas City does on Saturday will definitely have bearing on the future anyway of the number one seed. If the Bills, I should say, if the Chiefs could lose to Houston and they only got to lose one of those two games if the Bills win out, I think the one seed is very, very, very much in play. Regardless, though, life is really good for the Bills right now and is really good for Josh Allen. Just wrapped up an absolutely historic month of play. Offensive player of the week again this past week here. This is the 3rd time he's done it. It's the 2nd time in 3 weeks. And what's crazy is if the Bills defense would have showed up in LA against the Rams, Josh Allen literally right now would be AFC Offensive Player of the Week 3 weeks running. Just incredible. He's the best player in the league right now. You hear people talking about that more and more. This isn't a career comparison between Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. I'm talking about right now, late in the season, 2024. I think Josh Allen is the best player in the league right now. I think a lot of people around the league, if they haven't already, they're starting to agree with that. And Josh Allen has also become arguably maybe the most popular player around the league. I mean, that is a big reason why this game got moved from 1 p.m. to 4:25. A lot of pissed off Bills fans, and trust me, I understand. I wanted that game to stay at 1 o'clock as well. But a lot of fans are like, well, why the hell would you move that game to 4:25? They're playing the Patriots. They got 3 wins this year. Well, it's because everybody wants to watch Josh Allen play. And I can understand that. It reminds me of being a youngster. I grew up, I wanted to watch Joe Montana every single week if I could. This was before the day and age of the NFL Sunday Ticket and all that. So I wanted Joe Montana on TV every week if I could watch him play. Later on, next generation, Brett Favre, same deal. Must-see guys. Those were must-see guys. Josh Allen at this point, he's a must-see guy. Whether you love him, whether you don't love him, you love to watch him play because you know some special shit is going to happen on the football field. In terms of injuries with the Bills, pretty good shape. Everybody practiced in some capacity, both Wednesday and Thursday. I don't know who's limited or full from Thursday because I'm recording this right around the time before that comes out. But the guys who were limited on Wednesday, Rasul Douglas, DeMar Hamlin, Matt Milano, Taylor Rapp, Curtis Samuel, and Dorian Williams. If I'm Sean McDermott, I may err a little bit, at least anyway, on the side of caution with a few of those guys, which I'm good with. I think you can certainly get away. They got away with it at Detroit. So if Rapp is not close to 100%, if DeMar Hamlin's not close to 100%, especially if Rasul Douglas, if they're not close to 100% still, take their time. The Bills have been pretty conservative with injuries all season long. And this feels like, not to disrespect New England, but a good week to do that. So I'm erring on the side of caution with most, with one exception. One exception. Matt Milano. Matt Milano is not one of those guys where I'm erring on the side of caution, which is a little bit ironic because he's the guy who's come back from the biggest injury. But here's the deal with him. I think Matt Milano needs these reps badly. He needs to get in there. He needs more reps. he's still rusty. He looks, I think, before he got hurt in Detroit, before he pulled the groin, I thought this was his best of his 3 games, but I still don't think it's anything close to the Matt Milano that we've seen for many years now. He's still rusty. He's still maybe a little bit tentative, reaching out with the arms and make those arm tackles. He needs to work, basically, is what I'm telling you. And I think Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich need to evaluate him some more over these next weeks, because come playoff time, you got to go with your best players. These aren't about feel-good stories. This isn't about who did what in the past. This isn't about history. This is about trying to win a championship this season right now. And if Matt Milano looks like the Matt Milano we've seen the first couple weeks here, and he doesn't improve at all, if he's not shaking off what I think anyway is still some rust, Dorian Williams has looked pretty good. And if that's the case, if Dorian Williams looks like the better player on this team come week 18, week 17, week 18, I think you got to go back to Dorian Williams as the starter. So is it Dorian Williams? Is it Matt Milano? I kind of feel like we need to find that out. So I'm not sure that the last 3-week Matt Milano is good enough. But I also know that Matt Milano, if he looks better than he has these past 3 weeks, if he gets even close to what he was, we know what Matt Milano's ceiling is. Well, Matt Milano's ceiling is a guy who can single-handedly, positively for the Buffalo defense, impact a football game. We don't know that Dorian Williams could do that. So the ceiling right now for Matt Milano is definitely higher. But I think the floor for Dorian Williams right now is higher. And we need to see reps from Matt Milano. I won't have a lot of confidence if Matt Milano misses 2 games, if Matt Milano even misses this game. It's really going to affect, I think, the confidence that I and probably a lot of you will have out there as well with him. One last little quick tidbit with practice. I wonder, and this is just me wondering out loud, folks. That's it. Nothing more than me wondering out loud. Last week, no Rapp, no Hamlin. So they went to Bishop, who got the start, and Kareem Jackson was the elevation from the practice squad. Micah Hyde, not ready. There was a lot of talk about him needing to put on weight. He was asked that this week by Bills reporters. I think it was Thad Brown who asked him about it. And Micah Hyde said he's up to where he wants to be. I'm wondering, again, out loud, with another week of practice now here, because they only had one practice last week. Remember, there was no practice last Thursday because of the snowstorm. I wonder with another week of practice if they need to elevate a safety. Like just say Hamlin or Rapp, one of those two, let alone both of them, are out. And they want to bring up another safety. Cole Bishop probably gets a start. But I wonder now with another full week if Micah Hyde would be the one who got the call over Kareem Jackson. It kind of feels like playing the Patriots this week in a rookie quarterback, that if Micah's even close to up to speed, this feels like a really good opportunity to maybe get him up here and even get some reps, give him a drive or two, kind of see where he's at. And so we're clear, I'm not talking about him potentially starting over Damar Hamlin anymore. All right. I kind of feel like minus an injury, that ship has sailed. If Damar Hamlin is healthy, he's the starter for the rest of the year in the playoffs. And I'm good with that. I've accepted that. That's fine. But you need to see at some point what Micah Hyde could give you. And this just feels like an opportunity with both safeties dinged up. You want to be prepared in case like last week with Detroit, like Kareem Jackson had to come in and play in the 4th quarter because Cole Bishop had to leave with cramps. So I would like to see Micah Hyde get an elevation if they elevate a safety, and I think they will. And I'd like to see Micah Hyde get a little bit of run out there and just to see, what he's got. Anyway, I'm going to take a real quick break, come back, spend a few minutes talking about the Patriots, and then quickly, 3 Bills keys to a victory, 3 bowl predictions, and a final score prediction as well. All right, we're back here. Bills Patriots Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Highmark Stadium. As far as the New England Patriots go, they're 3-11. That's what they are. They're 3-11. 6 of their 11 losses have been by 2 scores or more. So it's not like they're losing a bunch of nail biters. But if you want to be optimistic about the Patriots, if you're a fan, they did lose in overtime twice this year already to Seattle and the Tennessee. They lost to the Colts by 1 point. So you could say best case scenario, this could be a 5 or 6 win team right now. But yeah, they're not good. 4-13 last year, 3 wins this year. So they're just 7-24 over the last 2 seasons. And sometimes wins or losses don't tell the whole story, but I kind of feel like with the Patriots, it does because like metrically, they stink pretty much across the board. DVOA, they're 30th overall. They're 30th on offense and they're 30th on defense. Consistent, if nothing else, right? Consistent, if nothing else. EPA, they're 25th in offense. They're 30th in defense. I feel like the offensive production kind of expected, having a rookie quarterback and Drake Maye, Jacoby Brissett started earlier in the year. They've only scored 25 points once this season. They have not scored more than 25 points since week 8 when they beat the Jets 25-22. As for Drake Maye, tell you what, I do like watching him play. He's fun. 10 games, 1,898 yards. He's thrown 12 touchdowns. He's been picked 9 times. He's been sacked 27 times already. Kind of like Josh in a way. He's a weapon with his legs. He can run. 359 yards rushing this season. That's really impressive on 42 carries. He's very reminiscent of NFL infancy Josh Allen. Like, don't compare Drake Maye now to Josh Allen now because that's ridiculous. But I don't think it's ridiculous to go, 2024 Drake Maye in 2018 or maybe even 2019 Josh Allen. You do see a lot of similarities with those guys. And respect to Mayo, the head coach in New England, because he was asked about that. And he just said straight up, quote, Josh is MVP of the league and Drake is a rookie. I mean, that is a great comparison and keep that in mind. But still, if you're looking for a game where it might be a mismatch on paper, but you want to see 2 quarterbacks who are capable of doing some really fun things that might be replayed on ESPN a lot, this could be your game. Weapon-wise, the best weapons on the Patriots offensively are their tight ends. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. Hunter Henry, of course, really good player. There's 62 catches this year, 635 yards. Hooper's got 34 catches for 375 yards. He's found the end zone 3 times. So those are your best pass catchers. They got a pretty nice slot guy, too, in DeMario Douglas. He's got 55 catches this year for 508 yards and 2 touchdowns. Outside guys, they really don't have much. They do got 2 young guys that, thinking back a handful of months ago before the draft, that I was really pretty high on wide receiver prospects, and I still am. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, but those guys they're not really, especially in Baker's case, literally, he has not been ready to play as a rookie. Polk really hasn't done anything this year, but tell you what, future years, like maybe even as early as next year, those are 2 receivers that I think if you're a Patriots fan, you can get a little bit excited about, just not this year. The Patriots running the ball, I do like their 1-2 punch with Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. And you could take it to the bank. New England is going to try and pound that football a lot. And I was looking, near and far for positive New England stats that really stuck out at me that might give me a little bit of pause, if not fear, with this offense. And the one thing I did see is with Antonio Gibson. He's actually second in the NFL right now in average yards after contact. He's averaging a little over 4 yards a carry after contact. Again, second best among all running backs in the entire NFL. Only a Bucky Irvin from Tampa has a higher average. So the Bills are going to have to do a good job of wrapping him up and tackling him when he's in the game. We talk about the pass catchers, the skill guys. Probably the biggest problem with the New England Patriots, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is their offensive line stinks. I mean, it's bad. Badarian Love, DeMontre Jacobs, their tackles, they're awful. They're terrible. What little highlights in film I've seen, they look terrible. I've went on PFF and I've looked at some of the more advanced metrics, and they stink there as well. Collectively, just not a good line. Mike Anawanu, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. He's the only guy on that entire line that's got a PFF grade that's even over 52 for the season. That's how bad that line has been. By comparison, everyone on the Bills has an offensive lineman, I should say, has a blocking grade of at least 58. Cyrus Torrance is the lowest one, and he is significantly better than the best blocking grade-wise offensive lineman on the Patriots. So that's a really shitty offensive line. Defense up front, anchored by Keon White. Nice player. He's got 5 sacks, but they really don't got much else on that front seven besides him. No one else on that team has more than 2.5 sacks after White. Jefferson, or I'm sorry, Anthony Jennings has 2.5 sacks. Christian Ellis, they've been all right, linebacker, but again, they're very weak in their front seven. Probably the best player on the football team at this point is their cornerback, Christian Gonzalez, who, by the way, at least as of Wednesday, was limited at practice with the shoulder injury, but I certainly would expect him to be able to go. I haven't really heard from any Patriots reporters out there talking about him being in danger of missing this game. But anyway, Gonzalez is a great cornerback, one of the better young corners for sure in the NFL. Best player on his team, at least for now. And he's fantastic. He really is. Jabril Peppers, pretty well-known safety. He's been good. Dill Pattis has been fine back there. Kyle Duggar is a guy that I really liked a lot, man. But he's kind of been a bust. He's been really lousy. I've heard a couple Patriots content creators talking about him and not fondly. He has not been good. He's also got an ankle injury, so he didn't practice the mid part of the week. We'll see what happens with him. But anyway, just being honest with you, which is weird because the Bills have been on a run where they have played teams that have either been very, very good or they have played a lot of teams that have at least been dangerous. Like, I don't know if the Rams are a really, really good team, but we certainly knew they could be a dangerous team. I kind of feel that same way about Frisco. Didn't play out that way, but still, Frisco had enough players. When you looked at that team, you're like, this is a very dangerous team. I'd be lying if I said that was the case right now with the Patriots. In terms of 3 keys for the Bills, we do this every game. I'm going to keep things really simple here because I don't want to overthink this. First and foremost, defensively, just stop the run your primary focus. You should be keyed in on stopping the run because you can bet the farm that New England is going to try to slow this game down. They're going to try to methodically move the ball up and down the field, control it with the ground, maybe get Maye out, bootlegging some rollouts, but they're primarily going to try to pound the football. The Bills, at times, anyway, this season have been pretty weak at stopping the football, or running the football, I should say. And part of the problem with some of their opponents is they get away from the run too quick. In some cases, they fall behind and they really don't have a choice. But other times, I feel like the Bills have played some teams this year where they kind of gave up on the run for no good reason anyway. And you could bet they don't want their rookie quarterback out there trying to go blow for blow with Josh Allen because that's going to get very ugly for the Patriots. So, and again, they have pretty good running backs. And Drake Maye's really good with his legs. So they're going to be more committed to running. Like, even if they fall down 2 scores, I think they're going to stay committed. That's their best route to having this game potentially be up for grabs still in the 4th quarter. I wonder if the Bills, they started out in Detroit with some 4-3 looks where Williams and Milano were both on the field. Who knows the health of them right now? But if both those guys are available playing the Patriots, I would be surprised if the Bills stay just in that base nickel. I think they'll play a lot of 4-3, maybe early in the game anyway. So that's one key, just keying on the run. 2, simply put, just don't get careless on offense. Josh Allen has only thrown 5 interceptions all season. He's only lost 1 fumble all season. 6 total turnovers for Josh Allen this entire season. You want something even more impressive than that? James Cook has not had a fumble this year in 171 carries. He hasn't even fumbled, let alone lost a fumble this season. Bills running backs and wide receivers combined have not lost a fumble this year collectively for the entire season. Now, if New England can force a couple turnovers, get lucky a few times, say if they're +2 in the turnover margin, that can make up for a lot of these deficiencies talent-wise across the board that we've been talking about. So, again, kind of goes without saying, but a key for the Bills, simply Take care of the football. Don't make this the week where Josh throws a couple really ugly interceptions or where James Cook loses a fumble, because that's what can keep New England in this game and give them a chance to win. Last but not least, again, I'm keeping it simple. Just don't take a win for granted. You cannot take any team for granted. And this is where I think Sean McDermott, throughout his tenure, has really excelled. The Bills rarely lose to bad teams because Sean McDermott doesn't allow them to get the mindset that they could take the week off. That's one of Sean McDermott's best traits as head coach of this football team. And he talked about it earlier this week anyway, a champion's mindset. Treat this game, just like you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. You got to be focused. The prep has to be strong. The focus has to be strong. And we've seen around the league some good teams have lost or either almost lost to really shitty teams. Look at the Ravens, where they're at right now. They got 5 losses this year. And the reason why they don't have the same record as the Bills, because they lost at home to the Vegas Raiders and to the Cleveland Browns. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They almost lost many times this year, but they only beat the Raiders by 2 at home. They only beat Denver by 2. Both those games quite literally came down to the end, a kick at the very end of the game. Raiders had a 35-yard field goal to win the game blocked, and Kansas City won a game on a field goal where it doinked off the goalpost and went their way and dropped in, and that's how they won 2 games. So they could have just as easily lost those games to the Raiders and to Denver. And like I said, we've seen it with Baltimore. You got to come ready to play every week. Don't take this game for granted, kind of like I am, kind of like probably a lot of you are as well. So again, to recap, keeping it real simple. Stop the New England run. Just don't get sloppy with the turnovers on offense, and just don't take this team or any team for granted, because you're going to see them twice now over the course of the next 3 weeks. Bold prediction time. I got 3. One of them I don't think is much of a bold prediction. I certainly think the last 2 are, though. I'll start with the one that's probably the least bold. Amari Cooper, who didn't even have a target last week. I think he's going to be a factor on Sunday. I don't think the Bills are necessarily looking to force him the ball. That's the wonderful thing about this Bills offense this year, folks. There ain't no Stephon Diggs, with all due respect to him. There's nobody that you got to try to force the football to. You let the cards fall where they may, and you play the best hand each and every snap. That said, I'm pretty sure that they want to get Amari Cooper going, and I could see a 4-catch, 80-yard, and a touchdown game for Amari Cooper. So he bounces back. Again, that's not too bold. That's not too saucy. I think this one is, though. Javon Solomon has 2 sacks this season. I'm going to say Javon Solomon is going to match that total on Sunday. So basically what I'm telling you is I got Javon Solomon having 2 sacks in this football game. I think the Bills get out. He gets more playing time, pin your ears back kind of pass rush situations, and I think Javon Solomon is going to end up getting not 1, but 2 sacks in this game. Last one, and this might even be more bold than that. The Bills have had 11 different guys catch a touchdown pass this season. My prediction is that number after this game is going to be 12. Someone who has not caught a touchdown this season for the Bills is going to score his first. And the 2 main, most realistic candidates at this point is Reggie Gilliam, or believe it or not, and I'm laughing as I say it, but it wouldn't stun me, Alec Anderson. One of those dudes is going to catch a touchdown pass, and they're going to become the 12th guy to do it this year. So Reggie Gilliam or Alec Anderson, someone is catching their first touchdown of the season for the Bills. All right, last thing, prediction time. I think New England's going to come out with some heart and some pride. I think they're going to stay committed to running the football. I think it's going to be a reasonably close game, but ultimately I got the Bills winning this 31-16, which, by the way, is a side note, a bonus here. That would mean the Bills would set an NFL record because they would get 30 points or more for a 9th straight game. So Bills 31, New England 16. And on that note, it's going to do it for this episode. I will be back live Sunday, 9 p.m. for the post-game show. Joe from Queens will join me. We'll break it down. We'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, all that fun stuff Sunday night. Enjoy your weekend. Get your Christmas shopping done. Throw on a Christmas movie, a little Christmas music. Get the mood going. And of course, Sunday, watch the Bills and then check in with us Sunday night. Talk to you later.